and welcome to the first ever Physiotutors Podcast. Wait, what? Physiotutors Podcast? I know what you're thinking, so I'll give you a little overview as to what's happened with Kai Andreas' sultry new British accent. The quick and easy part, the voice. I'm your host, Sunny Sandhu, a British physiotherapist working here in Amsterdam. Now, onto the more interesting part. What's the idea with the Physiotutors Podcast? Physiotutors has developed quite a lot over the last few years. It has become so much more than a student's last-minute revision cram session, something which I myself have been guilty of in the past. It's now a tool being used by professionals in the field across the globe, and it's because of this, Physiotutors wanted to create another outlet where we could talk to other physios, surgeons, neurologists, specialists in all different aspects of healthcare, and through them gain a deeper understanding of what it is they do, their approach, and why, and how this all comes together and why it's so important in the world of physiotherapy. So, there you have it, all summed up in a tidy little nutshell. That said, for this very special first edition, we're going to be talking to the guys that made it all happen, the guys that made it all possible, Kai and Andreas. So, guys, without any further delay, let's get into it. The burning question everyone's been dying to ask you and hear your thoughts on. Where do you stand on Brexit?
I'm not quite sure. I don't think the Brits even know where they stand on Brexit, so I don't think our opinion is that important. They have to get their shit sorted first, and then we can form an opinion.
Yeah, I have no idea how it's gonna turn out. I think no one knows. I just have one British patient, and she's trying. Or she actually got her Austrian nationality, basically.
Just for that.
Yeah, just in case. For the rest, I think it might be that we have to pay less taxes on our book to Britain. So that's actually a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Wow. So bye-bye Britain from Kai himself. There you go. Physiotutors knows where they want us to go.
The question is, how does that impact you?
I still haven't worked that one out yet, I'll be honest.
Maybe this is going to be the first and last podcast.
Yeah.
It'll be a nice intro. It was nice to meet you all. And you'll see me busking in London soon.
We just got to shell out the episodes now till they figure it out. And
let's get them all going.
Get on a ship.
Have something important to do in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
But in all seriousness, everybody listening to this already knows you guys, Kai and Andreas, from your Instagrams, your YouTube channel, and your Facebook. But that's, for even the most loyal fans, only you guys from the last sort of 4 or 5 years or so, and only what we see on the cameras. But I want to get to know a little bit more about the men behind the lens. Tell us what you guys were doing before physiotherapy school.
Do you want me to start? All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my story goes back, basically 10 years, or even further. I always wanted to go into medicine, and strange enough, my father didn't support that idea, because I think I come from a family where no one has ever studied before, so he just didn't see me studying for like 10 years, or almost or close to 10 years. And he, I think, also saw the hard working conditions that you have as an assistant doctor. And I talked to a couple of people about medicine, like who studied medicine, and they were not so happy with their choice of studies. So I kind of decided not to get into medicine and ended up doing a combination of economy and IT, which I think in English is called business information systems. I studied that for 3 years, finished my studies. It was all right. I mean, I wasn't passionate about it, but it was good salary. I worked for a big company afterwards for 3 years. So the money was good, but I wasn't passionate, and at the same time I was playing relatively high level amateur soccer, where we also had a physio.
Football for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, true.
Thanks. I was scratching my head for a moment. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
And I kind of envy the guy. I think he had a great job. I mean, his payment was not as good as mine back then, but still, I think I thought, or I saw myself working as a physio back then, and at one point I was 25, and I kind of had to make a decision if I wanted to continue in a job that I was doing or if I wanted to do something new. And back then I decided to quit my job, travel for a year, so travel the world for a year, and to become a physio afterwards. In a nutshell.
Nice.
Crazy,
callback.
right?
Yeah.
Just think about it, like Kai being at the point. I'm 26 right now. That's when you like
I was traveling the world back then. Yeah.
traveling the world, having quit your job and entire career beforehand to start over and become a physio. And I am at this point in my life right now, or like at the age. I'm not gonna quit my job now.
But
Go
kind
travel
of
the world
yeah,
and become a business informatics guy.
No,
Going
but
right the
that's-
other way. Yeah.
But that story feels so distant. Like it's like you always tell me that you can't imagine me sitting behind a desk in a big company. Neither can I, and it feels like it was
Just for the fact that you would have to get tailor-made suits. I mean, it probably like it's within your budget, I think, or it would be within your budget, but still, it's not like off the racks.
They can get pricey.
That shit would, they can get pricey.
I was like 15 kilos lighter back then, so that was alright.
Yeah, but now, right?
Yeah, you're getting older, you're putting weight on in different places. 15 kilos is a lot.
Pure muscle mass. No, but okay, go on with your story, Andreas.
My story is gonna be a letdown now after this. No, like I said, I'm 26 now, turning 27 later this year. But how I became a physio, I spent 6 months or like a good 8 months then in the US during high school, and I found out about the doctorate of physiotherapy or physical therapy in the US, and it sort of appealed to me back then as an alternative to medicine, like Kai said. My dad's a doctor, for those who don't know, so I've been relatively close to medical professionals all my life. My mom's a nurse, and my dad's an internist, and at some point I also thought, okay, maybe medicine is for me. Let's do that. Let's try that. But the entry-level requirements to get into med school in Germany are ridiculous. Your GPA has to be flawless, and even then, if there are like 2-digit behind the comma differences, even though you have almost a perfect GPA, you could be on the waiting list, right? And so it's really, really competitive. And I was a good student, but not an overachiever. So, I didn't make the cut. I would have had to wait 4 years, I think, to be able to go into med school. And then I thought, nah, let's not do that. And I thought about enlisting in the German military, because then you can do medicine there. But I was like, nah, I'm not gonna be enlist for 9 years after that.
You got to pay your service
just to
back.
become a doctor, right? And so in the US I found out about the DPT programs, and I just loved my time in high school. It was one of the best times of my life, half a year there, because I had no responsibilities also academically there, which was great. My German high school, they didn't care. I just came back and went on.
Fair enough.
So thanks very much for the trust they had in me back then. But yeah, I was like, man, I want to go back. When I finish high school, I want to go back and study in the US, and let's try this DPT thing. And I did all of my applications. I took my SATs, TOEFL, and all that, and applied for college. And eventually I got in. But then the next biggest hurdle, I think, to this day, to everybody who is enrolled or wants to start a doctorate of physical therapy, is student loans, right? having to face, I think after 6 years, then almost, if you take everything into account, living costs, maybe traveling home for Christmas and all that, being almost $500,000 in tuition, right? Then my family was like, I mean, it's cool that you got into school, but we're probably not going to do that if you can find something comparable in Europe. And then I found that here in Amsterdam, because also, med school didn't go through due to my GPA. And then I looked for a comparable program to a DPT program here in Europe, and that's how I ended up in Amsterdam. I mean, I was kind of heartbroken in the beginning. It's just a funny story. Like, it's almost comedic how I did the campus tour in Boston during summer, flawless lawn everywhere, and sun shining, bright blue skies, and I'm walking
weather,
around in shorts
place.
doing the campus tour. You see everything. You see the big gym. You see the stadium, just the facilities that they have. And then I did the open day here in Amsterdam, and it was just a characteristic. It was sometime in April or March, and it was raining, and we pull up on the parking lot on the AMC, which is just like dirt and gravel and potholes filled with water that are probably like, if you fall into them, you're gone. And it was just like the contrast was so high, and I was like, man, is this really the alternative?
This is life. Yeah.
Maybe for those listening, Sunny also went to the same school as we did. That's also how we know each other, and then how we decided to bring him on the team. But so we can really, I think he can identify with that a little bit.
Yeah, you go from beautiful weather, beautiful views, beautiful everything to that HVA building.
Sunny came from shitty weather to shitty weather, so for him it wasn't a shock at all. It was like daily business. Yeah.
No, but like then that's how I ended up here, and I mean I don't regret it. I definitely don't regret asking my parents or anybody to take up this huge financial hurdle, and and then with everything that happened in between, also with us starting Physiotutors, that would never have happened probably
if you're in America.
So I think it all worked out, and now we have the biggest audience, the biggest chunk of our audience sits in the US, so I think it kind of repaid itself a little bit.
Yeah, there's some irony there, and maybe a trip out to the States from one of the listeners or something.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But okay, so out of that, there's a couple of things I want to sort of dig a little bit deeper into, and one of them, a high school in the US. How much do the movies exaggerate it? Is it really parties all the time? Because I mean, you said yourself there weren't many responsibilities. Do we get Party Boy Andy?
Nah, it was pretty. Of course, you're like, it's very exotic. Like, I was 17 back then. I was the only exchange student at that high school back then. Mm-hmm. It was not giant, but they had more than 1,000 students.
Okay, damn.
So everybody pretty much knew that's the German guy, and it was. I went there in the fall semester, so I had a scarf, which, as a dude, it was.
It's not a done thing, right?
No. I think I did justice to like this European stereotype.
Justice by confirming it, or did you break some barriers? There's a distinction to be made.
For example, gym class, I had shorts that ended above my knees.
Okay.
So that was already, if you compare it to basketball shorts, that was already like too much. And then
that was the point when they thought you're definitely gay.
That's like
you're showing a lot of leg here,
Yeah, too much leg. But I also tried in gym class, which unless there was one other dude who also tried in gym class, the other people just didn't care.
Okay.
But yeah, like wearing a scarf or like having clothes that match. Like that was really a thing. Yeah, man.
We're not all like that, okay? It's not all of Europe. I just want to get that out there.
Back then there was this app where you could like ask. You could have a profile and people could ask you anonymous questions. Like it sort of pulled up again. It was a website back then, not an app. It came back as an app now.
Yeah.
but like people, like in that high school, they asked each other a lot of questions, anonymous questions about me. it was crazy, man. But it was cool.
Different.
It was I had such a good time.
Fair. And
but like parties, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't that crazy. I mean, all of my friends had a license because they were 17 and they had a car, but like I did not go to like major rages or whatever, like there was some house parties, but it was all civilized.
Okay, if you say so. We can discuss the day details after the Skype. That's all right.
Yeah.
And Kai, you mentioned with the football, you were quite envious of the physio that you had there. Now, you know, you're a little bit into your physiotherapy career. I don't know how much experience the guy who was the physio for your team had, but do you still have that? Do you still have that passion for it when you saw him doing it?
For physio, yeah, I think, the passion for sure. But I think my picture of physio changed. I mean, I think a physio in a sports team is also pretty different to what I do. I think, it was not all evidence-based what he did. It was basically trying to get us match ready. And I thought about like working as a physio for maybe professional soccer team myself, but I don't think it's as exciting as it looks from the outside.
Yeah,
I am very much prefer doing a lot of the diagnostic part myself, and I also enjoy having different kind of patients. So I think that's really different in a sports team where you might end up doing a lot of massages and taping, and where the head doctor does the main part of the diagnostics, I think.
Don't forget the magic sponge, right?
Oh yeah, cannot forget the magic sponge.
Bug kid. The sideline magic.
But that's in amateur teams.
Ice, the professionals, they have ice spray.
Oh yeah, they get the fancy stuff. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that's what you were doing before your sort of time at ESP, and Andy, you touched on to sort of why you wanted to get into it, and Kai, you did as well. But what was it that took your journeys to Amsterdam? Andy, you mentioned that it was comparative to the course that you did in America, or could have done in America. Coming out of it, I don't know if you feel like you got the same experience that you would have gotten, or teaching that you would have gotten. But in that sense, what was it that brought you to Amsterdam? There were other courses as well available in the Netherlands, and Kai, the same question as well.
Yeah, before I went on my world trip, I actually had a place, and I was already registered in a physiotherapy course in Germany near the Lake Constance. But then during my trip, I figured out that I can't go back to my small village in Germany. So I felt like I cannot go back. And the friend I was traveling with, he thought about going to Amsterdam, which wasn't really on my map before. And it sounded kind of nice. I mean, I've never been to Amsterdam before, but I only heard good stories, and it is an amazing city now that I can tell. Yep. And I knew that physio is pretty decent in the Netherlands. Like it has, you can study it while in like on a bachelor's level and on a master's level now. But in Germany, it's an education. It's an apprenticeship of 3 years. So I kind of knew that in Holland the quality is higher, and then I decided, okay, I want to apply in the Netherlands somewhere. And then the choice for Amsterdam was, I think, just purely on the fact that Amsterdam's a great city, and I thought that I wanted to have a good time as well. So that's how I came to Amsterdam.
And you could only apply to one school.
Yeah, right? you had to make a decision at one point.
You have to make up your mind. You're like, okay, I can submit one application to one school.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Because I looked at the school in Eindhoven. I looked at Frontis, and it's like, okay, let's just apply to both. And then they're like, nope, you can't.
My reasoning was that the chances were the highest in Amsterdam because it was the biggest school. So that was the main reason why I applied in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
You actually had a justified reason.
Let's just go to the capital.
Yeah, that was mine. I was like, well, there's Eindhoven or Amsterdam. Like Andreas said, you can only apply to one. And I looked at it and I remember having a conversation with my brother and he was like, yeah, but why do you want to go to Amsterdam? Have a good reason. It can't just be because it's Amsterdam. And I looked at him kind of blankly.
Hookers and weed.
It's Amsterdam. No comment. Don't watch this bit. But yeah, Amsterdam has that sort of attraction to it of being a fun city where you can really enjoy yourself and study at the same time, right? Yeah, like we all did.
Yeah. Rolling eyes. Yeah. No, like it was like you mentioned, or like I mentioned, comparable curriculum, like on first sight, and then just the city is attractive, and I don't think it would have been much different in terms of the education that we have received.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't regret it if I see the big picture. Cool.
And I mean, coming to Amsterdam, both of you guys being there at the same time also sort of led to Physiotutors being developed. Where was it that came from? How did we go from, hey, let's study our anatomy or applied anatomy together to let's make some videos?
Yeah, I think it started because Andreas had the camera from his dad, and you wanted to start something. You wanted to start recording videos.
Yeah.
But that wasn't with a clear goal until I think we were second year tutors, and I think that was the year before you, right, Sonny?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And that's, I think, that was like half a year later. Andreas had already registered the YouTube channel in December 2012. Jesus.
12.
And then from
showing your age.
summer 2013 on, we mainly did the assessment classes or the assessment tutoring with the first year students, where we were asked to write everything down that we do so we could get elective credits from the school, and we proposed to basically record what we do or make videos as a summary for the students. And that's how it started. And then from that point on, it started to grow. I think at one point we were at 100 followers, so we realized that other people were following us, not only the people from school. And then I think we gradually started to take it more and more serious, and then I think you also see stuff that you want to improve, and we talked to a couple of people, got ideas, and kept improving until it until it grew to what it is now.
Yeah, I really don't know what the spark was in the first semester. Like, really, you started in September, and by time like Christmas vacation rolled around, came up, we had the channel up with a name and a logo, but
the spark was maybe that we found the bench, or you and Francisco found the bench in front of the school.
Yeah, true. We found the treatment bench behind school. They threw out two benches. One was not usable because it had ripped upholstery.
Oh yeah.
But ours just had like this broken leg lever system, so you could prop it up and roll it around. It didn't do that anymore. Now it's just like stationary, but it's okay. And I took that. We took that home. And
how did you manage to do that? Where were you guys living at the time?
Yeah, we were no, because we at that time we were both still living in separate apartments. First semester, we just moved in here in January sometime.
Yeah.
So like
I can't remember like that the bench was somewhere else. Maybe you took it home and got it fixed, but
no, we brought it here. So we found the bench sometime, but that was way later. Cause like I was like during Christmas vacation, I got diagnosed with cancer. That's why we had this big gap between registering the channel and actually start doing something. Then in like Q2 of 2013, April onwards, because that's when I came back then. But yeah, I don't know why like this idea of having this channel with the name and the logo up in 2000, like in your first semester already. I know I wanted to make videos. I was already privately busy on YouTube a little bit with like some smartphone tutorials on how to like crack your old Android phone and bring it up to speed and stuff. Yeah. That's also how I figured out you can make money on YouTube.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur from day one.
Yeah, and then we like, all right, let's do something with that. And then definitely it really started with tutoring new students once a week and giving them the opportunity to recap. Yeah.
Mm.
Fair. Okay. Because those benches aren't easy to move, so you had to definitely have some will to want to get this done.
Yeah.
Andreas
I had a car, but still, like even getting that thing into the car was that's big.
Fair.
Yeah.
And who was the inspiration behind the music for those first videos? Because they have to be some of my favorite parts. You know, it's one of those things when you're in the library. Again, for anyone at PT school, you might have this yourself. When you forget to plug your headphones in and you're loading up one of the first videos, and all of a sudden there's this speed garage going on in the background. You're like, oh, crap.
Yeah. Oh man, I really don't know. I think that's even if you get Final Cut Pro on Mac, it's built-in audio library, so it's like free, royalty-free music that you can use.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the tracks in Final Cut Pro. So it's just like standard royalty-free music within the video editing program.
That's amazing.
I just made something. I was like, it sounds all right.
Yeah.
It's a bit uplifting. Let's use that.
It gets you in the mood.
Yeah.
It gets you pumped.
But I mean, we changed it 3 times.
Yeah, plus you had to tune it down quite a bit because that was one of the most common critiques on the YouTube channel. The music's too loud. And it was too loud.
Yeah.
They just don't know what they like. It's okay.
Yeah.
We could maybe use it for this, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it has been quite an evolution. I mean, the intro we have now is already 3 years old. We made that in 2016. But yeah, it's the intro. I think most of the people by now, they just know where to skip to. And,
exactly how far along in the video, 31 seconds
like
or
the 10, 12, 15 second mark.
Yeah. Then where are the follow-ups to those outtake videos? Because I remember seeing one at Christmas time, and then I haven't seen one since.
Yeah, there have been less bloopers. I mean, the reason is that we are using now I'm stuck on we are using a teleprompter, which I think was maybe the best
purchase we've made to up the quality of the videos.
I mean, back then I don't know, it cost like €300 or so, $400, which was a lot back then. Yeah. So it still is kind of. And but it improved the quality so much because, I mean, English is not our mother tongue. Plus, if you really want to tell something about pathophysiological background of certain pathologies, it's just so hard to keep it all in your head. Like if I remember how we did all of those videos with like trying so many times to, say a long sentence without any mistakes, it's insane. Like if I think about it now, it's ridiculous.
I rewatched the video and we made so many cuts and so many like fade transitions just because you can't memorize and nail these sentences like in one go. So we have so many fade transitions, and now we have more like segments where we actually talk without interruption, which I think makes for a way better viewing experience, definitely.
Yeah, I also think that one of the results of like having made like more than 500 videos is that you improve so much that mistakes just become less and less.
Yeah.
So we said now the new outtakes are going to be from Kirsten.
Yeah. Yeah, Kirsten,
our sports physio.
Oh, we have a lot there. And I mean, it's also it's a ton of work to skim through all of the raw video. Like when I edit a video, it's so standardized. I know just based on the audio waveform where I have to go and cut, and then I just don't watch all of the stuff when somebody messes up. It's just gone. But like I remember these Christmas videos, just like going through all of that and trying to make something that's a little bit coherent and still funny.
Yeah,
because just like outtakes by themselves, plugged, like just stick them
one after the other.
One after the other is not funny, right? You gotta make something out of it, and that is just like a lot of work. And maybe we'll do one. What's 2012? In 2022, then we have our 10-year anniversary.
10 years. Wow, that's something. You mentioned you've got sort of now over 500 videos, and at least from where I'm sitting, it looks like your video output has sort of increased to an extent because you've also got the physiology videos that you're putting out and things like that. Have you guys got anything planned special for maybe video number 1000 or anything like that? Or
the thing is, we don't really know which video would be number 1000 because there's a couple of videos that are not listed, so they are in our orthopedic course, for example. So we wouldn't even know which video would be number 1000.
Yeah, I mean,
or would you know?
Yeah, you can see how many videos are public on the channel.
Oh, okay.
And I think right now there are like 530, 540 videos that are public on the channel. Some videos that are still scheduled. So these come out regularly then as scheduled. So I think we could with some calculations find out when video number 1000 goes live. But I mean that's still some time to go, because we publish like 150 videos
per year. 3 more years. 2022
Yeah, so perfect.
That goes along with the 10-year anniversary.
2022, we can have
outtakes video.
And in 2022 we can have an outtake video as the special video for 1000. Yeah, perfect.
A little callback.
Matches up perfectly. 10 years Physiotutors, video 1000, and outtakes.
Sounds good. Yeah, and then the company dinner as well. Hopefully, you guys can take us somewhere nice. Myself and Kirsten.
Perfect. Yeah.
And then,
it's good
so
that you're thinking with us. That's good.
Yeah, of course. You know, I'm a company man after all.
Yeah.
So you guys mentioned you were studying yourselves. You were doing the tutoring for other students. You had to finish off your bachelor's yourself, do all your other studies that you've got to do. And then you've got the videos on the side, and you're talking about 150 videos a year output. Obviously, maybe at the beginning of the channel, it wasn't that high.
No. Yeah.
Where did you fit all of this in, and also maintaining some kind of social life at the same time? Like you said, you came to Amsterdam it's Amsterdam. It's a great city to explore and enjoy the summer and whatnot. And how did you find all the time to do this?
Our housemate who just left us, he would actually say, Andreas and Kai, they don't know the city. They've never been to Amsterdam. That was kind of his running gag. Now I think, of course, you have to be passionate about what you do. Otherwise, you won't sacrifice weekends for a project that doesn't benefit you in any financial way, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, now that has changed, of course, but I think for me personally, a lot of what we put on the channel was kind of studying for exams myself, and also repetition in teaching. And I think if you teach content or you try to explain content to your colleagues, other students, that's the best way to study, at least for me. So it's kind of we benefited ourselves. We became better physios and better students through the channel.
Okay, fair. And then over time, there's obviously all this sort of exponential growth that's blown up over your Facebook, your YouTube, your Facebook, and your Instagram. I think it was in that order from at least my following of you guys as well. What do you attribute all of that growth to over this period of time as well?
Being consistent, uploading regular content, or uploading regularly. Of course, you have sort of it's not really a snowball effect, but people find, because you're present on all social media channels, people choose a little bit, okay, maybe I find them on YouTube, but I like Instagram more, or I like Facebook more, and then they just choose you to follow, or they choose to follow you there as well. But otherwise I think we just hit a good spot. Like we found a niche and we tried to fill that. And apparently the way we make content, the types of content we make are interesting and relevant, and then that's how you gain a following. We were also, I think, we started at a good time, because a lot's happening in the social media space, which is good. But I think we were still early in the process, so you could sort of mark your territory a little bit.
Yeah.
And then people just want to follow the OGs, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the fundamental principle is pumping out good stuff on a regular basis, like Gary Vaynerchuk would put it. That's the recipe for even for someone who wanted to start a social media brand now. That's the key, and you have to have a long breath. I mean, you have to keep going and don't do it for instant gratification, but do it because you like it, because that's the only way how you can produce stuff for years.
Yeah, there were no hacks, really. There weren't really no hacks. No, buy 10,000 followers now or whatever. It
Just
was
gonna
really
put that in there, make sure everyone knows. This is all authentic growth. Okay.
People have asked us, like, have you bought followers or whatever? No. It was a lot of different tactics. I mean, I remember, like, I used to go on these social media walks. So, like during summer, just like go walk for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, and then just go through comments, or like browse hashtag physiotherapy student, whatever, and comment on relevant posts, like engage with the community that we have. If people started following us, I did that from like having 1,000 followers to like 10,000 probably. Pretty much almost everybody who started following us that I could see in, because it's like limited to a certain amount of activity, what's happening on your Instagram. But if I saw somebody was following us, that I would, if they had a public profile, go ahead and engage with one of their posts and let them know, thanks for following us, just saw that you followed us, hope our content's relevant. If they didn't have a public profile, I'll send them a direct message, and I'll be like, okay, hey Sonny, saw you just followed us, thanks a lot, I hope we can bring some value to you, right? And just like giving people who started following us a genuine response of, that we appreciate that they decided to hit that follow, which doesn't take a lot for them, but in the end, it means a lot to us, to everybody who follows us. Yeah. So it was a lot of work. It's just saying, okay, doing all of this.
I also think in 6.5 years' time now that there was hardly any comment from our community that we didn't reply to.
Yeah.
So even now on YouTube, where there's a lot of comments, and Instagram for sure, on Facebook as well, There's hardly
your
any
shirt
messages or comments that we have
Shirt
left uncommented. Yeah.
I think we'll probably get some comments on this as well of why the guy's wearing clothes.
They don't,
do a little bit of fan
us.
service.
They don't see us, so they probably think we are gonna be topless during the podcast.
Yeah, Shirtgate was insane. I mean, it wasn't like huge, but it was noticeable how like comments regarding that popped up. And we had this one dude on YouTube who was just like, he was really bitching about it the whole time, like how.
No, he just wanted girls on the channel.
Oh yeah, he was like, he wanted to have girls on the channel, because like, it's either Kai is the patient or I am the patient, and in the videos, and he was like, it's an all men's club, and but also he apparently he filed a complaint with the KNGF for like unprofessional conduct because we performed some examination shirtless. He was like, I am filing professional complaint with the KNGF.
No way.
Yeah, it was.
That's
ridiculous.
extreme.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I knew about that. Yeah, when it came to study time, I used to do group study with my housemates, and as it happens when you're studying, you start to sidetrack, you get bored, you go through the comments, and we'd spend easily about 10-15 minutes scrolling through different comments on different videos. And just
so it was you trolling our YouTube channel, most probably.
You were trolling.
Moving on swiftly. Yeah, but sort of, you've mentioned putting out good quality content and sort of the recipe for success, as you say. But that's also led to some of this content being used in lectures that you're sitting in yourselves. I remember sitting with you guys, I think it was over that ice skating while you were doing your masters, and you mentioned that you were in one of your lectures for the masters, and there's your video up on screen, and then when you're walking around in the SOMT, I think it is, you guys are and sort of people recognize you from your videos. How does that feel for you guys? Does that affect you when you're studying, when you're at these places?
Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of strange. Like sometimes I feel ashamed even, like because people, it's weird because people expect that you're like a super physio or something.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and that's yeah, exactly what you said. I mean, we're still young physios, and I mean, I think we do have good knowledge, but then still, I mean, it's so different what people expect from you because of the videos, because you can portray yourself as the expert, which we kind of do, but it's based on articles, it's based on evidence, not so much on our clinical experience. And what the real Andreas and Kai are in a physio practice, it's completely different.
I think I started looking at it as, because there are these moments where you have those, this struggling with imposter syndrome, right? But I now look at it as we are sharing our own learning process with the world.
Yeah, that's
right?
a good way to see it.
It's no different than that. That's just how it is, and of course people also ask us questions, and our name says Physiotutors, but that's also what a tutor is. They learn something and they explain it to you, right? But it's sometimes maybe a little bit awkward, and of course, like we sit in exams with people that you always have those you're in a group of 3 when you have your case-based exam, and oftentimes you sit with people that are not in your class, that are in your cohort, but you've never seen them, and then they recognize you. And then it sort of sometimes feels awkward and then there's maybe a little bit pressure on you, but I try to let that go as much as possible. I think everybody could have done what we do, right?
Yeah.
Any motivated student can do that. There's the hurdle is not that big, and it was a learning process for us. Like, if you remember, the first videos, they are not as great as the videos now, and they evolved with the more knowledge that we acquired, and we're just trying to share that in an unbiased way, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I think you were talking about the exams. I mean, you're sitting in an exam with someone who has watched your videos in order to prepare for the exam. At the same time, we are watching our own videos to prepare the exam, because you never remember all the videos, especially a video that Andreas has made. I just don't remember it as well as the videos that I have made.
Yeah, and I mean, those people that you're sitting with, they're probably double, some have triple the amount of work experience than we do. So yeah, it's but it's also an honor, right? If you see that people in your class purchase your ebook or have your app or tell you that they watch your videos, I just think it's awesome. And we take a little bit pride in that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you do have this sort of global audience of people who are doing masters, people who are studying their bachelors, physiotherapists who are out there in the world working, not just people who are studying. Have there been any sort of standout stories for you guys that you've heard from people during, be it a study or something else, that they've been like, hey, thank you very much, you helped with XYZ, or our clinical reasoning on this or that, or
I mean, you get I just remember like 2 years ago was the first time that I really noticed the impact, or that people shared a little bit of their story on Instagram, because like I was in Stockholm for summer vacation, and that's when a lot of people graduated, and I got a lot of messages of people like, thanks, I just had my graduation ceremony, I have my diploma, I really wanted to thank you guys for the past 3-4 years. You really helped me pass my exams and get through this this degree. I wouldn't be here without you, thanks a lot.
Oh.
And then you're like, whoa, right? This like someone who's watched your videos for 4 years, and you helped them through passing courses.
I also love those stories of people that we know who took videos or photos of their class when everyone had their laptops up, and our videos were running on basically every laptop. That was also insane.
Yeah, or you see like like somebody sends you a video, like a photo from a conference, some interprofessional conference, and then up on the big screen are you showing some test, right? That's insane.
There was one in the Emirates, I think.
Yeah, there was one in Dubai, like a conference.
Yeah.
And this dude just sends us a photo, and it's you showing a test on the big screen.
Shout out to the physio tutors in Dubai. Wow.
Yeah.
And sort of that's how it's gone on to affect other people. That's how you've heard the stories of how it's been for them. How do you feel it's helped you in your working lives then as physios? How do you feel it's impacted you guys? Because you mentioned, the stuff you do, you don't claim to be sort of experts in the field, but you look at it in all the clinical reasoning and make your not assumptions, but you make your judgments based on the clinical reasoning that you get from what you're looking at, and when you make the videos. How do you feel that's impacted you guys for your own working profession?
Yeah, I think what I mentioned earlier, like if you are trying to teach something or explain something, that's the best way to study. And at the same time, I think if you put yourself out there, and I think you become pretty vulnerable, and there's a lot of comments, also negative comments, but I think we also develop from that. So because we don't know everything, and there's really clever people out there, so I really appreciate critical input from those people, and I think we also grew from that. and we've revisited, like we've re-uploaded so many videos that we felt were not up to the standards that we want. So I think this is how we improved as physios ourselves. And of course, the Physiotutors company or project itself has opened many doors. We are in touch with a lot of people who have a name in the physiotherapy world. It's a small world, so everyone knows each other, kind of.
Yeah, I
To a
think
point.
I think just to add to that, surely producing our own content has helped develop sort of a skill in the clinic, but just partaking in that world of the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram community, and sharing your ideas, sharing your content. There are a lot of other people, and we learned a tremendous amount from them, right? So just being actively involved in that world helped in general, not only from the stuff that you do yourself, but the stuff that you also consume from other people.
Okay. So the stuff that you take from other people, you've mentioned that there's also been negative comments. Where do these sort of negative comments lie? Do they, because I know there's also some critiques on special testing, or even to some extent manual therapy as well. Is it that sort of aspect, or is there something else that you want to take from these things, or?
I think a couple of negative comments are always going to be from haters, so you kind of learn to ignore that. But also, I mean, clinical tests, they only form a small part of your clinical reasoning process, and if we take a look at where we are going with our channel, it's more to put out videos on actual clinical reasoning, like how do you actually make a differential diagnosis based on patient history, how do you perform a proper screening, like and so the testing is just a small part, and I'm gonna, maybe we split up the discussion about manual therapy
For a separate
podcast. But I mean,
Sounds good.
Manual therapy is also just one part of the treatment process. In short, so and I think the best comments, they came from people who are either scientists, researchers, or people who have a lot of clinical experience, and they see that it's not only about special testing and manual therapy and the biomedical approach, but I think we are shifting way more into the biopsycho or the psychosocial domains, because this is where the most prognostic factors for recovery lie. So those factors are most probably way more important. And to add to that, I think at the moment pain science is such a hot topic, and we've learned that pain is not only, or cannot only explained by nociception and actual structural issues, but it's way more explained by other factors as well, again in the psychosocial domain.
Okay. And do you feel that that's something that you're going to look to try to explore after you finish your Masters this summer, this whole pain and its effect on the body, or is it something that you think you will develop over time through clinical experience? Or
I think we've already have decent knowledge about it, and we've put it on our list like ages ago that we wanted to make videos about pain and pain science. But I think at one part, like one reason why we haven't published stuff about it yet is because there's already other good social media channels that cover those topics thoroughly, and also because we mostly put out content that we cover in our studies ourselves. So I think that's why we focused on those topics first. But I mean, it's still on our list of topics that we want to put out because it's so important.
Okay. And in that list of things that you guys want to put out yourself, there's already Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, apps, books. What's next for the physiotherapy world's dynamic duo? What's next for the Batman and Robin of physiotherapy? You guys can fight over who's Batman, who's Robin. Yeah, I'm not gonna start that debate. But what's going forward?
I think going forward is expanding that duo, right? What we're doing right now is like we bring you on to take care of a podcast and also become one part of Physiotutors. I think we have launched our course, right? On that. There's a lot of course, doing the regularly scheduled content, continuing with that, diversify that. Like Kai already mentioned on YouTube, it's less and less about special tests and more about clinical reasoning, background knowledge, fundamentals, and try to bring people on like Kirsten, for example, who does sports physio related content, which is great. Like treatment also, a lot of people ask for ACL rehab, for example. We've started producing a ton of content on that. And just like that, we want to hopefully have people who can cover other domains. Pediatrics, for example, is something that's may be really interesting. Neurology, we don't have a lot of like neurology content on our channel. We have a very motivated student, Stein, from the Fontes in Eindhoven, who writes a couple of posts on Instagram on physiology that are really well received by the community, and hopefully we can expand on that and make that more frequent and maybe definitely more regular. This podcast, I already said, because we want to move forward. I think it can't just be the dynamic duo Kai and Andreas forever. Right. So that's why we try to surround ourselves with motivated people and bring more faces to the company.
Yeah, I think if you want to sum it up, there's like two goals. The company goal is to increase the team, what Andreas said, try to develop from a garage company to a real company with employees, with people who can also do what we do. And I think content-wise, our guideline is always create products, create content that we would have loved to have as students ourselves. We are our own target group, so that's always the best. That gives you the best ideas. And there's so much more ideas that we have out there. I mean, we've to be more concrete, we've done so many manual therapy videos now. We would love to have a manual therapy app. So that might be one of the next projects. And I'm working on a course right now to mainly about evidence-based practice, because it's such an important topic and students hate it. I think including ourselves, because during your bachelor's, you're just too focused on basic principles, on the basic subjects, that you don't see the importance of it yet.
Yeah, so that's going to be like a statistics course, how to search for evidence, how to appraise evidence, how to interpret results of studies, how to read a research paper, stuff like that.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So that all then ties back into someone's clinical reasoning as a physiotherapist. I had a question recently from a student. So, yeah, as you guys know, I'm a physio as well. So I sometimes have students ask me questions, and the question from the student really got my back up a little bit in terms of there were a few things that the student had said to me about what had happened, but it seemed like they were trying to pigeonhole every individual thing as to, when I see this and this, does it mean meniscus, and this is automatically ACL? And he asked me if I could give him a checklist of what makes it ACL, what makes it meniscus, what makes it an MCL. And for me, I thought you have to look at the whole clinical picture. You have to look at everything that happened in your patient history that you take to really make an informed decision as to what's going on. Where do you guys stand on that, especially in terms of clinical reasoning, for people who take a sort of checkbox approach where, oh, you had instability in the knee, all right, that must mean it's a meniscus, and won't look any further or pay much attention to anything going deeper? Where do you guys stand on that?
You go.
You gotta have fundamental knowledge on. It's never just like with screening. It's never just like one red flag that makes for a reason to refer back. It's a combination of several items, gut feeling, previous experience, and the test probably. So we also, that's really part of our online course also, if we can plug that. We really cover stuff like incidence and prevalence is already one point where you can, it's part of your clinical reasoning. How likely is it at all that people have condition A? If it's a woman, if it's a man, already a difference. Okay, age group, what's stuff, you really have to do a good anamnesis and patient history to form your decision. Don't just say, okay, because there's instability, it's an ACL. It makes it all more likely, right? The mechanism of injury, the pathophysiology, really know, okay, which questions do I have to ask in order to form a hypothesis based on the condition that the patient is presenting with.
I do think that the way of reasoning, like the what the student was referring to, is basically pattern recognition, and I think that's a clinical reasoning format that forms later on when you're practicing. And I also think what students often find hard to grasp is that there's always a lot of clinical uncertainty about a certain pathology or diagnosis. So as a student, you want to think black and white, then in practice, that there's always a certain degree of uncertainty around a diagnosis, and especially with complex patients or patients in persistent pain, there's a lot of uncertainty oftentimes. And I wanted to add something that I just forgot. I'll know it in a second, but I don't know yet.
Yeah, I think it's hard to place a patient in a certain box.
Yeah.
Even with a meniscus, not one meniscus is comparable to the second one. Not one. Yeah. No patient is the same as something that you've seen before. Yeah. There are similarities, but it's never black and white.
Now I remember what I wanted to say. And one thing I also see is that students are really focused on an ICD diagnosis. So what is it? International Classification of Disease. So meniscus, ACL tear, whatever. And they're not focused enough on the ICF model. So what are actually impairments in this patient? Because you can have shoulder impingement, or shoulder subacromial pain syndrome, to be more exact now. but the picture can be really different in different patients, and I think that's what you were referring to, Andreas. I mean, someone can have really dominant psychosocial factors that you'll have to target because they are the factors that impair recovery, while in another patient it's more a mechanical issue. So just the diagnosis of subacromial pain syndrome doesn't mean it's exactly the same patient. So and I think they have made the diagnosis, and then they just do something instead of focusing on the negative prognostic factors for recovery in patients.
Fair. So for a little sound off then, what would be the best, most important advice that you'd give to any new physiotherapy students out there, besides of course getting their hands on the app from Physiotutors?
I think there's a lot. I mean, we've answered these questions on other podcasts as well. We did one with gratitude. Staying critical. I think what we also see and what we also read is that we put out something and people just accept it at face value, and think that's, you know, they just check face validity. Is that all right on first sight? Also staying critical with everything that you consume. So asking questions, about trying to find out the why in all of that. The latest lecture that we gave was how to move from what and how to why, to really find out the why. You can do that on a personal level of why do I do what I do, but also like with a patient, why do I now do what I do?
I think as a follow-up, because if you're asking the question why and you don't have an answer for it, you should be able to look up the resources to answer that question. This means you should be able to browse medical databases, get your hands on articles, be able to read those articles, follow people that are experts in different fields on social media. This is how you get answers to your questions.
And even then stay critical with them.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our own biases. And I think we also I don't think we necessarily create an echo chamber, so we just hear the opinions that we want to hear. But you could try to then also expose yourself to different opinion, if that can take place in a civilized manner. Yeah.
Okay, fair. That's great. Any last little bits you guys want to shout out before we close this one off?
No, shout out. I think shout out to you first of all. I think we are the three of us looking forward to this new format. I mean, we've been guests on a couple of podcasts, but I think starting this podcast ourselves, which has been on our list for forever, I think we're really excited that we can do that with the three of us, or like mainly you, you behind the steering wheel. And I just hope that we can, with this, also add extra value to people who follow us and maybe reach a totally different audience as well. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah. Also, thanks from my side. Thanks for having us on our own podcast. Really love the session and the British accent, of course.
Always.
And I think if anybody who has listened to this point, if you have any wishes for this podcast or anything, just comment, whatever. Give us a review also.
Yeah, let us know if there's something that you guys listening to the podcast, anything in particular that you want to hear, or any sort of specialists or something that you want to find out more about, any particular subjects. I think that's always a good shout. Listen to the audience that we get, like you guys reading through the comments. I think the same thing goes for this. Yeah.
All right, now we'll let you do the outro.
Yeah. If you're still listening, thank you very much for joining us on this journey, getting to know the guys, Kai and Andreas, a little bit better. And yeah, like we mentioned, if you do have anyone that you'd like to see on the podcast in the future, just let us know. Drop us a message on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and let us know who you'd like to see or what topics that you'd like us to cover going forwards. Thank you very much. And this is your host, Sunny Sandu. Enjoy the rest of your day.